Instruments are fascinating because of this possibility. They've represented a fantastic investment category in the art space for a very long time. I think of particular interest because of the potential for a sponsor or an investor to be actively involved with the process of augmenting the value. Unlike painting, for example, which is static in some ways, that they can actually easily be moved from one place to another by loaning it to a soloist, by participating in making it available for recordings, and showcasing the instrument and allowing it to be heard and to be seen in a public space. Another advantage, I think, particularly with instruments, because of this portability, is the ability to exchange them in different currencies. We've been able to track repeat sales over a couple of hundred years and to represent the actual value of the instruments and its continuity through time. And I think that's quite unique and astounding in terms of the stability of the instrument as investments. Working distinctively with J&A Beare is being part of a tradition and being part of a tradition of expertise that has an enormous solidity, continuity, and accountability. It's a company that's been in place for over a century, handling the finest instruments in the world. They have had access and acquired the archives of W.E. Hill and Sons, which has given them a unique ability to study the provenance and research of instruments. But the other thing I think that Beers can uniquely offer is support in the structure for setting up relationships with musicians, for insurance issues, some very practical things. What it means to have an instrument reviewed on a regular basis, to be sure that the curatorial aspect of the company of J&A Beare is transmitted to the foundation, and that the foundation has the tools required in order to care for the instrument and develop relationships of care with artists that can maintain the value of the instrument, and that can actually add to its provenance as the instrument goes forward into the next chapter of its life. As a violin maker, I live and work in the shadow of Stradivari, and the opportunity to have access to an instrument like this is remarkable for me. What's particularly exciting is this is really at the center of his golden period, and we see the master at the absolute height of his powers. The way that it relates to work that comes before and after is also particularly exciting. There are chapters in his work that flow seamlessly into one another, and the development of the early work where you feel a very strong influence of Amati, and then his explorations of the long pattern. And in the early 1700s, him sort of at the outset of what we call the golden period, and then him here really representing himself in his own work in a way that's remarkably refined, bold, powerful, is really something for us that's magnificent to behold, because it's someone that's really at the very center of their life's production. The particular instrument has wonderful remnants of the original color that are very exciting for us to be able to see, and to see the ground that's intact around these areas is quite exciting as well. It has a wonderful provenance, and you can also see that it's an instrument that has been used and played throughout time, that it's had a long playing history as well. It's been in the hands of many great soloists. But from a maker's perspective, the delicacy and precision of the work, it's a magnificent combination between the artistic grace of Stradivari and the boldness that is required for the needs of both historical and contemporary soloists. In this period, he was working very much for royal commissions as well, making instruments for the church. He was known and celebrated very much in his day, and particularly at this period in time, I think he was very celebrated in Cremona and throughout Europe as a master maker. And so this represents a wonderful moment at the height of his powers and the height of his career that relates, I would say, beautifully to the chapters that come before and after in his own work. What's notable about an instrument is its capacity to support an artist's vision and their sense of possibility, and also to refine and define their own voice. When given a fuller box of colors and a fuller range of sound, the possibility for exploration is expanded enormously. So, for an artist to be given a better tool on which to make music allows them to have a much richer sense of themselves, to provide them with a certain level of confidence, to transmit their own interpretations of a composer to an audience, and ultimately to serve the purpose of playing music at a much higher level. There are cases in which an individual has found a particular instrument through a trusted dealer and a trusted person who can explore the provenance and sound with them, and matched that instrument very beautifully and effectively to a contemporary musician who needs an instrument to support their art and to help them to define and refine their own voice and music. So I think that the possibility for someone beginning is to acquire an instrument in the context of a foundation or the Violin Society represented by bears, for example. And there's also the possibility to participate in a group of investors and for a number of people to come together and to have shares in instruments and to make a decision underneath an umbrella organization like the Beers International Violin Society or a foundation as well, in which they can actively participate and have a very structured environment in which to own and trade shares. One, I think, exciting possibility in the world of string instrument investment is the number of available price points for entry. Generally speaking, Italian instruments, fine French instruments, and well-selected instruments from other places have always represented a remarkable potential for exchange value, for investment, and significant returns, and the entry points can vary. Stradivari and Guarneri del Gesù, of course, represent the pinnacle, but there are a number of makers at very different price points and significantly lower price points that represent wonderful access to the market, to the possibility of investment, and to the same sort of participation in the world of contemporary music and interaction with soloists and musicians who are defining the culture of music today.